this episode, I'm going to be talking with you about silage tarps and how we use them in our raised bed gardens and why we use them. And if you're not using them, by the end of this video, I think maybe you might consider using them too. Hi everybody, I'm Alan Schaefer at Custom Garden Solutions. Our channel is all about helping you grow herbs and vegetables so that you can live a healthier and happier life. So what are silage tarps? You can see them in the background here, but they are made out of poly. In our case, they're 5mm, and they're black on the top and they're white on the bottom. They're very rugged in the last several years if you get a good quality silage tarp. The first reason or time that we use silage tarps here in the Midwest in our raised bed gardens is in the winter. So in the fall, you know, come October, November, when the garden stops growing, we'll clean it out relatively well. You don't have to get everything because the silage tarps will help decompose some of the organic matter that you leave behind. But we'll cover the garden up, and since the fabric is black, when the sun shines, it'll keep your soil a little bit warmer for a little bit longer time. It'll also keep the heat in because of its insulating capabilities. So some of that organic matter will start decomposing, right? And as winter progresses and it starts raining and snowing, the silage tarp keeps the moisture from filtering through your soil, especially in raised beds again, and keeping the organic matter and nutrients intact. It's kind of similar to when you pour water over coffee. If you do so repeatedly, the coffee will become weaker. So you don't want that to happen in your garden. You don't want the good organic matter and nutrients in your soil to leach out of your garden. Then once winter is passed and spring comes, since you don't have water in your soil, it doesn't freeze, or it doesn't freeze as much. Remember that it isn't the soil that really freezes, it's the water and the moisture in the soil. So since the silage tarp is waterproof, you're not going to get all that water in your soil, especially in a raised bed because you're raised up. So with the black top of the fabric and the fact that the soil is drier, it thaws out quicker, the worms get busy quicker, and you're able to get into your garden and work a lot faster, and it makes life a lot easier in the spring. So here in the Midwest, when it does start warming up, it tends to bring on a lot of rain. So the temperature might be right for bringing plants into your garden, seeding your garden, but if it's too wet, it makes things difficult. Now with the silage tarp, basically you're able to come out in the spring, lift up your silage tarp, roll it up, store it away, and you're ready to start gardening. You'll also find when you lift up the silage tarp that you might find just literally thousands of little holes. And that's because the worms who have gone deep down for the winter, when it thaws, again earlier because it hasn't frozen, and because the top of the tarp is black, the soil warms up faster and the worms come up and they start getting the organic matter towards the surface layer of your garden, of your soil. So the last thing that silage tarps will do for you in the garden is that it'll keep weed pressure down. So I've got a 50 by 30 garden here, and I'm going to start putting in some plants and some seeds in the next couple days. But I'm only going to do about a quarter of the garden. So I'm going to leave the silage tarp in place in the other areas. What that's going to do is keep the weeds out of the areas where I have the silage tarp. So keeping your soil structure intact, making it easier and getting to your garden earlier, and keeping weed pressure down are three of the key elements that using silage tarps impact. All right, so just a couple quick things that you might want to consider when you get your silage tarp. One is Should you use stakes or spikes to hold your silage tarps down? I do not recommend it. Punching holes in your silage tarp. I would recommend something like a row bag. So this has a little handle on top. It's UV treated, so the sun doesn't deteriorate it too much, and you fill it up from the bottom, and then you just twist tie that up. So why these are great is I have mine filled with pea gravel, or you can use river rock, or any type of smooth stone is best, because once you place it down, it flattens out and creates more contact with the silage tarp in the ground and just holds it in place better. I've been in Phoenix for 5.5, 6 months, and I came back this spring and the silage tarp hadn't moved in a centimeter. Everything's in place, everything's perfect, and I'm ready to go. Another reason why you might want to consider row bags is that if you're using any type of frost cover, insect netting, shade cloth, anything you need to weigh it down, you don't need to use bricks, you don't need to use little pieces of wood or whatever you have lying around that's heavy enough to hold down a tarp. You can reuse the row bags. Another thing to consider is when you put your silage tarp in place. Now, I've got a 50 by 30 garden roughly, and it's best to use a big piece of silage tarp. You don't want seams because the rain's going to come down and it's going to go into those seams, and as we talked about earlier, you don't want moisture in your soil because it's going to freeze it, so on and so forth. But if it's a windy day, it's just going to make it tougher to put down your silage tarp. So try to do it on a non-windy day. And it certainly makes it easier with row bags to kind of put a corner down, throw a row bag down, stretch it out to the other side. You have a row bag in your hand, put it down. So another reason why you use row bags, but try to do it on a day when it isn't too windy. All right, now I'm in the front yard where I built a 4x8 raised bed garden. We filled up the back, now we're working on the front. But so last fall I had potatoes in here. I pulled everything out, and I had some remnant silage tarp laying around. Wasn't quite the right size, but it was close. So I put a row bag in each corner, and I shut it down for the winter. And when I came back from Arizona this spring, everything was in place. So now all I have to do, and I would recommend one thing. If you have a 4x8, for instance, I'd recommend getting a 6x10 piece of silage tarp, because you want it to go over the edges, right? So that it keeps that top ledge of your raised bed, your wood, protected. And it also helps if it's overlapping to keep any of the water and moisture out. So basically I take off the silage tarps. Whoop, come on, blow away. There you go. Yeah. And this is ready to plant. I did throw an apple core in there, but as you can see, this is about a 20-inch raised bed garden. It's a 4x8. And what you don't want is for all your nutritious soil and all your organic matter to be rained on and snowed on and filter through and basically take all your nutrients and organic matter away, have them leach right out of your garden. So then you don't have as good as growing soil for the next season. You also don't want in a raised bed garden for the freezing and thawing and freezing and thawing, the expansion, the contraction, the expansion, the contraction, the expansion, the contraction. It's just not going to be good for your structure. So in order to keep your bed in better shape and to keep your soil high in nutrients and organic matter, I recommend that you use a silage tarp that's slightly larger than the structure for best results. You like the goofy truck? The carrot's hanging on for dear life. All right, so where do you get silage tarp? I've only been able to find it in 100-foot long rolls, which is fine for me because we use it in our gardens and for our customers, and but it might not be for you. So when it comes in these 100-foot rolls, 24 feet wide, it usually comes in 6-foot long roll and they just fold it over 4 times. So if you were to unroll 10 feet, it would be 10 by 24 when you unfold it, all right? Because I know a lot of you out there may not want 100 by 24 foot, and I'll put a link down below so that you can get it if that's what you need. But if you need a smaller, more custom piece, we're gonna have several options for you. And I don't know how long we're gonna do this. It may become quite cumbersome, but we're gonna actually custom cut and ship to our customers silage tarps in different sizes. I mentioned in my front raised bed that it's 4 by 8, maybe you want 6 by 10. So 6 by 10 may be one of the options. All right, so I remove the row bag. I'm just gonna peel this back. Let's see what we've got under here. Wow, look at that. So this is ready to plant in. So that's what you're gonna see when you lift it up. Let's do a little bit more. And you can see right here, there's all those, I don't know if you can see that, but there's all those wormholes I was talking about. You can't see, but they're right here, 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 here. I mean, there's, probably not gonna pick it up on the camera, but there's literally thousands of them. I'm gonna just kick some dirt here. Look at that. Look how easy I'm able to move this dirt or the soil. Look at that. I mean, that's 6 inches down. Look at this. So this is, compost. Our company delivers compost to our customers, but it's also that we use silage tarps that keeps this stuff so pliable and so loamy, so loose, airy. I'm Alan Schaefer at Custom Garden Solutions. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're new to the channel and you want to learn all about growing herbs and vegetables and all kinds of cool garden stuff, then start today by subscribing. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that you don't miss anything, because you never know where I'm going to show up next.